President Ramaphosa is in Mpumalanga and talking to members of the media. Let's go there.
For me, shows that there is no apathy. There is no reluctance by our people to be part of the civic mood that is taking place in the country. So today, again, it's been a good day at the office. So I'm happy.
Thank you, President. Questions?
Mr. President, Samkele from the SABC. This is the final voter registration weekend. Ultimately, elections will be proclaimed after this weekend and the voters' roll finalized. Looking at how it's gone thus far and looking at the service delivery challenges, what would you say to a person who says sitting at home that I've got no need to go and vote, I don't have water, I don't have my refuse collected on time, service delivery is at a deplorable state? What did you say to that person sitting at home right now?
Well, what I would say to a person who has been discouraged in the past because of failures of service delivery, I would say they should look at the new developments. The developments on infrastructure are ticking up. There's a great improvement. We said at the beginning of the year that we are deploying 1 trillion rand, and we're beginning to see that money now beginning to flow. 2 weeks ago, I went to launch a water project, and 67 such water projects were being launched throughout the country to deliver more water to our people. Major and mega water projects are now underway in various parts of the country. And it's not only limited to metropolitan areas, it's also going through rural areas where there was no water. Water is beginning to flow. Even in villages, water is beginning to be delivered on the sidewalks of where people live, and in time, water in the rural areas will be delivered in their homes. And in the urban areas, we're solving the problems of reservoirs and reticulation. So there's a lot of activity that is taking place. And on the electricity side, where there's been load reduction, because we've now gotten rid of load shedding, where there's been load reduction, we are solving that. And Minister of Electricity and Energy is working on it fervently. And we are ridding our country, for instance, of illegal mining, and corruption is now being addressed, and the corrupt police are being dealt with. So all in all, things are beginning to move forward. And when we said there are green shoots also in the economy, those green shoots are becoming small plants, and they are shooting up. And I have no doubt whatsoever that even the reforms that we have started in logistics, in water, in electricity, and also on road construction are going to pay really good performance as we move on. So there is a lot that we are doing in the country that is also being recognized by rating agencies, financial institutions. The investments that we are attracting into the country also speak to that. So there is much that is positive, that is moving forward, that people should open their eyes to. Yes, there are still serious problems with service delivery. We will never run away from that. There are still those challenges, but they are being addressed, and they are being addressed with greater determination. And the fact that we are now deepening our democracy by going for the local government elections means that even at the constitutional level, South Africa is moving ahead. Our democracy is maturing, it's becoming more and more stable. We've got more political parties contending for our people's votes, and that too should be seen in positive light, that the best political parties will be supported, will be voted for, and they will gain the trust of our people as we move on. So we are moving forward. We are not standing in one place. We are not stagnant. We are not moving backwards. We are moving forward. Thank you.
Any other question? No?
No?
Mr. President,
They've heard everything.
one last one.
Samkele.
No,
Samkele.
there's a very important one. The biggest asset manager on the African continent is in trouble. You've just appointed a new chairperson of PIC. Just looking at what is happening at the PIC, what's the summation of the problems that involved Africa's biggest asset manager? And then lastly, on Eskom, your critics have said the unbundling of Eskom, the inaction of the new transmission company, is ultimately breaking up the state and giving it into the private hands.
Well, let me start off with the PIC. The PIC is the largest asset manager on the continent, and it manages the asset of civil servants like me, civil servants like teachers, civil servants like parliamentarians and all that. So it's a very important institution that we need to safeguard. It manages almost half of the worth of our GDP, 3.6 trillion rand. So when there are governance challenges, we have to act so that there is no instability. So there is no crisis at the PIC. Our actions are aimed at just solidifying the stability and getting the PIC to move forward in a much stronger way. And that is exactly what we are going to see with the PIC. So it should never be seen negatively. The markets have not responded negatively because, as you know, the PIC is exposed to the markets. They have not responded negatively. In fact, they have applauded government for taking the action that we have taken. So the PIC ship will sail wonderfully forward. We've brought about changes. And that shows government's determination to ensure that what the Party Commission recommended is implemented, what had been going askew is put right. So we've acted. On the electricity, similarly, we've acted to ensure that we align our electricity reforms with what happens in many other countries. Various countries have moved in the same direction, be it emerging market countries like Brazil, like China, or more developed countries like in Europe and in the Americas. We are moving in line and in tandem. What needs to be made clear is that Eskom transmission will always be owned by the government. Eskom itself will always be owned by the government. What we are seeking to do is to bring in other players so that there must be competition. The competition that is aimed at doing what? Bringing prices down, making electricity affordable, just like we did with telecommunications. In the past, our telecom was the only telecommunications provider. And when we opened up the market to bring in Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, Rain, you name it, what did that bring about? Competition. And what has that resulted in? Prices are steadily coming down. And there is more service. So in the past, when it was telecom alone, penetration of telecommunications was meager in our country. Now it has broadened. Almost 115% penetration of telecoms, largely because there are more providers and an economy where there is competition, prices do come down. But the state, our state, continues to have ownership of the grid, which is the transmission lines, and we're going to build 14,000 kilometers, which will be firmly owned by the state, and we are going to continue owning Eskom. So there is no privatization. Those who talk about privatization are lying to the public. Bringing in new operators with new investment does not mean that we are privatizing. We are a mixed economy country where the private sector as well as the public sector have room to play and to contribute to the growth of our economy. And that has proven to be a good case in the past. Even on what you could call public goods. The public goods in our country also need investment, and we are providing that investment, and the private sector is also providing investment. So a good thing needs to be seen and to be well reported by people like you and to be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Over 400 days of no load shedding. Over 400 days of no load shedding.
You see, the Deputy Minister knows very well. So don't take it from me only. Umamele no Deputy Minister.
Thank you, President.
How much was spent on the hospital that you and in your capacity in government that you will be launching on Tuesday? How much has been spent on that particular hospital, and what is job creation on that particular aspect?
No. Before the Premier also responds. 2 days ago, I had the occasion to go and open a renewable energy project that in Bethal, covering Bethal, Davell, and Morganson. These are small towns that had not fully been touched by greater economic development. Now, with the launching of that facility of utilizing wind energy, which has been brought by a black-owned and a black-managed company, those 3 towns are now going to rise economically. More jobs are created, and small and medium enterprises are rising. They are being created. Women-led, underline, businesses are now being created, and they are operating. They are doing wonderful things, and youth-led enterprises are also rising. And on Tuesday, I'm back here to launch a hospital in Middelburg. I forget how much we spent on that hospital.
Yeah, they will get a clear-cut answer on Tuesday.
Come on Tuesday. Nganwam, Unglandele. Now follow me on Tuesday as well. On Tuesday.
Okay.
You are my friends. Come along.
Thank you.
That was the president of the African National Congress, essentially saying that there is voter apathy to go out and register to vote in this last voter registration that is taking place within the country. Voting stations will close in the afternoon at around 4 or 5 o'clock, where South Africans will have that last opportunity to have and form part of the voters' roll, which the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs also happens to be the president of the Inkatha Freedom Party, where my colleague Ayanda Mhlongo is at in Durban. Will engage with him, particularly on his cap as the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, when he is signing that proclamation of the elections for the 4th of November, which will ultimately see the IEC closing the official voters' roll within the country.